Today on Tuned, I'm driving that. This should be fun.
It's been 12 years since the Fast and the Furious turned a generation of young tuners into fans of the big power Toyota Supra. In those 12 years, most of the Supras have been modified into oblivion, while the kids who love them have grown up to work for tech startups or hedge funds, but they still lust after big horsepower. Only now, the cars don't just come from Japan. Some of them come from Italy. In an unassuming warehouse surrounded by a pond, trees, and industrial buildings not worth a second glance, you'll find the workshop of the first person to add 2 turbos to a Lamborghini. His name is Jason Heffner, and his shop doesn't need a sign because his cars speak for themselves.
This car operates at 7 pounds of boost and makes roughly 800 horsepower at the wheels, which equates to close to 950 horsepower at the flywheel. I want to say in about 2003, we moved from superchargers to turbo systems. Quickly realized that it was obviously the way to go.
Now that you've experienced the sights and sounds of the Heffner Twin Turbo Gallardo, let me show you what it's like right here to do a pull. The Twin Turbo Gallardo is it's like today's modern, tuned Supra. In the late 90s and the early 2000s, the big turbo Supra was the big thing. You could make 800, 900, 1,000 horsepower out of those cars, but they haven't made them in a while. They're tough to find. The Gallardo is great because A, it's a Lamborghini. B, it depreciates like it's not a Lamborghini. So you can pick up a used one. I mean, this is a 560, but you could get a used Gallardo from 05 for 100 grand. And then for 40 grand at Heffner, you can have 800 of the wheels and get it stuff like I remember in another video that I said there was nothing better than a V8 with turbo blow-off noise. A V10 with turbo blow-off noise might be better.
It sounds good, it feels good, but the German engineering keeps the car together. It makes it a more reliable platform. These cars hold up very well. You have to be mindful of the big picture. You can't let one aspect of the car exceed the capacity of the rest of the car. If we're going to upgrade the engine to a certain point or beyond a certain point, we have to upgrade the rest of the car to be able to withstand where we're taking it. But generally speaking, the cars are very reliable.
Now, the reason I like Heffner is because he was the first person to do this. He was the first person to put twin turbos on a Ford GT, first person to put twin turbos on a Gallardo. Hell, even in the 90s, this guy supercharged a Diablo. Who supercharges the Diablo? And he built his name on the fact that that Diablo, which is a notoriously fragile car, didn't explode. If you're going to put a $40,000 turbo kit on a $200,000 exotic, you want that reliability. You want to know that you'll be able to drive that thing without it blowing up. And so Heffner does what he has to do in order to keep the cars reliable. He drops the compression a little bit, he beefs up the half shafts and the clutch if necessary. It works, in case you're wondering. It works quite well. Now, I remember last year I drove a Gallardo by VF Engineering supercharged engine. And at the time I said that a supercharger is better than twin turbos on Lamborghinis because it makes the power everywhere, not just the top of the power band. That's partially true. While the VF kit does make more torque at the low end, there is something wonderful about the feeling of turbo boost building and that sound that you hear. You know, with the supercharged car, you didn't really hear a whole lot. You didn't. It just sounded like a stock car. It just went faster. But if you're going to spend 40 grand, isn't that sound something you kind of want? I mean,
although we're primarily known for our work on the Lamborghinis and the Ford GTs, we work on a pretty wide variety of cars. Basically, anything that somebody comes to us that sounds interesting or challenging, we're willing to take it in and give it a shot. Over here, we've got a Superformance Shelby Cobra. This car is getting a 427-inch small block Ford. It'll have full Motec electronics, Garrett GT30Rs, and at 2,100 pounds, we'll make somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 horsepower when it's done. Next to that, we have an Ultima GTR. That car right now weighs in at about 2,200 pounds. It has a twin-turbo 5.4-liter Ford GT engine, as well with Garrett GT30Rs, built aluminum intake manifold, Motec electronics, and we'll have the capability of making close to 1,200 horsepower.
Is there any such thing as too much horsepower?
Yes. I feel that you cross the line between right amount of power and too much power when you can no longer go in your garage, fire the car up, take it out and drive it around for a day without having to worry about failure. You need to be able to put the power to the ground. You need to be able to drive the car when you want to drive it. And with all of our builds that we put out for street applications, we remain very mindful of this. We want to send somebody a well-balanced car that's going to work every time they need it. And if someone wants to go further and build a race car, we offer that as well.
woo, that's a rush. It's like shooting yourself up with turbo boost right there. It's like, this is like the Nicky 6 of turbo boost. He's doing lines of ants, and then he's just injecting boost into his veins. I think we're covered there, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got some road. Let's see what first gear's like. Just gonna ESP off, Corsa, traction off. Let's just mat it and see what happens. I'm not going to tell you how fast that was. I'm just not. JF would be very, very angry with me if I did. But you are going to have to trust me